Are you ready to talk?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to talk.
Come on in,
Well, okay, let's talk.
just settle down. We're gonna talk with you. What's going around?
Let's talk.
We're on the brown skin, chit chat show. Chit
Let's talk.
show.
Get it, shout it.
Hello, family. Welcome to the Black Girl Chit Chat Show. Hi, everyone. Today, well, Monique here,
Hey
Monique there,
everybody.
Shalita here. Casey is away, so she will be joining us soon. So again, she's out there making her money. So we wish her all the well and support. Today, we are going to talk about girlfriend versus being married and what that looks like, and some of the anticipation, and what we believe men still believe that we should be doing. So I think that's a
Right.
good start for today's session. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is because obviously we've been single and we are currently married. So um, so let's start from the beginning. I know when I was growing up, my parents were married for 30, 40 something years until they passed away from each other. Monique, I believe your parents, same thing, married
53 years.
till one of them passed away.
Yes.
So we know what marriage looks like, or an idea of what marriage looked like. When I was growing up, even though I had parents that were married and I loved their relationship, I didn't necessarily always want to be married. Monique, I know you always wanted to be married, so it looks a
Yeah,
little
I always
different
wanted to do that.
um, to the eye. But when I was single, I was running around doing whatever I needed to do, dating, no worries. Being able to travel, being able to do things. Sex was probably more, prevalent than it is in getting married. And so once I got married, like most women, we kind of lose ourselves in the kids, the husband, and trying to keep ourselves together. So I don't know if any of y'all feel the same way, but there is truly a difference, and the difference in men and women on what should continue and what shouldn't. So I don't know what you have to say about being single and married, but let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I can remember, I wanted to be married, but I wanted to be married later
Mm,
because I
later.
wanted
Like, what's your
later,
age?
like I wanted a career,
Oh, okay.
and I wanted to be successful in my career. I wanted to be established, and I had this idea of what I thought marriage would look like in an established career, and
Mm.
and that type of thing. So yes, I
So
wanted
you
to
had
be
a picture. You had a picture like, okay, I think I had a picture just with age, like, oh, by this age, I'm gonna have kids. By this
married.
age, I'm gonna have. So it was just that, one of those bubbles that pop out of your head
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. So you
So
had a
I
picture.
don't. I got married at 28. I was young. I was younger. Um, and but when I got married, I was ready to get married because I found the person that I wanted to be with.
Mhm.
I had to kiss a lot of frogs along the way. Lord help us.
Yeah.
But I do, and so at the time, we made a conscious decision when we got married that we didn't want to have kids right away, and that we wanted to establish ourselves in our career, which I feel like we did. We did that pretty good, and then after a while, I was like, well, no, actually, I kind of think I do want
Mm.
children. So when I say that, the single life for me prior to getting married was, yeah, I was in the streets.
Mm.
My mother used to always joke like, I will always write your address in pencil because you were always moving. Um, because it was just like, it was just me. I only had to worry about me, and my considerations were very selfish, and it was about establishing myself and figuring out what I wanted and what I didn't want. Um,
Yeah, because you were able to live in California and
Maryland and
Maryland.
Detroit. Like I've lived a little bit of everywhere, and I've traveled the world.
Mhm.
I had a job where I could travel. I was traveling to Mexico, and I was traveling to Europe, and those type of places. And so that's what I had envisioned for myself, and I really wanted to continue that. And so when I got married, prior to getting married, um, my husband and I went through premarital counseling, and we had established, because we both had been in relationships, kind of long term relationships, and we both had been in those relationships, that we thought were going to end in marriage. And what we realized is that we wanted to have an open dialogue and understanding of expectations of each other, what we were willing to do and what we weren't willing to do. I remember getting a book, and it was like 276 questions to ask your potential mate. And it helped, because you think what that other person is gonna how they're gonna react. You think how they may want things, because you've been around this person, them, you feel like you know them. But what 23 years of marriage has taught me is that you're constantly learning about that other person,
Mhm.
and your relationships will evolve. When the kids
Yes.
come, the relationships will change. When a parent dies, the relationship will change. Um, you know when jobs change, the relationship will change.
Mhm.
But what should stay consistent and stay remain is your commitment to each other, and your commitment to your marriage and to
Mhm.
those vows. So I think the expectation of what I thought marriage was going to be like was like what I had established in that premarital counseling 23 years ago. This is what I said I was going to do. And I know my husband, would say the same thing. Like, this is what he said you were going to do. And we had established then clear lines of what we expected from each other. And it had to work for us. What works for my marriage doesn't work for
But it's
anybody.
funny because what is set back then, 20 years ago, is not necessarily what is set now. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes expectations have to be addressed every, I don't know, every
Week.
anniversary or every 5 years, because I noticed that. I don't know about you, like, I'm not the same woman my husband married 14 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm
And you
not the
guys
same
just
person.
celebrated an anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Yes, 14 years now. Yeah. So,
Yes.
again, through the 14 years, you find that communication has lapsed. Taking care of yourself properly has lapsed. For me, it's worrying about, everybody else, but except for myself. So
Mhm.
in marriage, I find, and again, I can't speak for my husband, I can only speak for myself, losing yourself in
Yes.
what you were 14 years ago or what you wanted to accomplish 14 years ago, sometimes. And they say you're supposed to be married and it's supposed to, you're supposed to build more than what you had when you were single. And sometimes that's always a challenge.
Yeah, but I think that that's supposed to is what kills us,
Mhm.
right? Because you compare yourself to someone else's marriage. You
Right.
compare yourself to social media. You compare,
Right.
but ain't nobody in your house, in the bed, going
Hello.
through the stuff with you but that other person.
Right.
And what I can say for sure is that yes, what I learned is that what I established for myself, or I thought I had established for myself, you know what they say, we plan and God laughs, right?
Right.
So like I had established for myself, this is what I thought marriage was going to be like. This is what I thought motherhood was going to be
Mhm.
like, and this is what I wanted. And then when I got in it, it was like, oh no, I don't.
It,
I changed my mind. I don't want that. you know, undo,
it's work.
and,
It's work.
it's
Yeah.
work, and it's work, and that's where the conversation happens. I think you have to be more intentional when you're married about dating each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Um, my husband and I, very good friend of mine, you, by the way, um, encouraged us to be really intentional about date nights.
Yeah.
And because we weren't having them, everything was around the kids' schedule, everything was around work, everything was around this. Now, I will say my husband is very intentional about taking his time. Bravo to him. And
Mm-hmm.
he's taught me and that I need to take mine. He's never once said, "No, you can't go on that
Right.
trip," or "No, you can't do
Right.
this," "No, you can't go." But I haven't been intentional about taking it, and so when that happens, I get resentful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's gone with his friend, and
Yep.
why can't I don't never
Because
get
men are
this.
gonna take their time, they're gonna take their
Yes,
space, they gonna
yes,
the the
exactly. The
the
whole
man cave.
necessary.
They always got a man cave,
He
girl.
always got a man cave. And so when we bought this house, I was very intentional, and Jeff was very supportive. I was like, I need a mommy retreat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need a place that I can go in and close the door and just for a minute.
Yep.
And in
Yep.
our old house, it was like, you know how it is. Like you go into
Mhm.
the bathroom,
I
and
know.
you got these little fingers going under the door. Mommy, are you there? Mommy,
Yeah, because they're always coming to mommy, right? They're
yes,
always coming to
yes,
I told my husband
yes,
with our oldest one, I didn't sleep for 5 years because she was always coming to my bedside talking about, hey, hey,
yes.
hey, never going
Good
to daddy's
morning. Good morning. That
yeah.
was my son. Good morning, mommy. Good morning.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, when I was single free, didn't do anything. So you lose yourself when you have,
Absolutely.
all these other entities coming into place. And I think some some men think you're supposed to look and dress and act the same way, come home, all glamified. I know me and my husband had a conversation about just because I work from home, just getting up and maybe we talked about this too about making up yourself and
Yeah.
looking decent just for yourself, but sometimes you're so tired and exhausted
Exhausted.
that you have to consciously strive to make yourself put yourself as a priority to
Right.
be able to sustain. So again, marriage is a lot of work, and the difference between girlfriend and marriage is, I mean, the commitment is supposed to be the same, right? You're committed to somebody, whatever. But as soon as you get married and have kids, that role you kind of go from 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 second to third to like bottom on the
Yeah.
list. And
Yeah.
so that's been a struggle for me in these 14 years of my life, and then revisiting what I want to do for myself to better myself.
I think the key is to have that open dialogue. Like,
Yes.
we ask questions on date night. Are you good?
Yeah.
Like, is everything good with you as a person? Is
Mm,
there something I can do to help you? Like,
right.
what are you working on? Like, what is it something you want to do? What's a dream or aspiration? Like,
That's
we
good.
have those dialogue conversations, and then, we ask that of each other,
That's good. I
are you
only did that on our anniversary, so once a year.
well, and I will say, like, it, we are our corporation. So,
Right.
I'm an
Right.
entrepreneur, I'm, a business owner, I'm, also an employee and stuff. And so I want my employer to know what I'm passionate about,
That's good.
and being able to like go after that. And I feel like as a married couple, like we have to treat ourselves like a corporation. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know that my husband would agree with me. Well, actually, I know he doesn't agree with me because we've had this discussion. Um,
Yeah.
um,
Corporation sounds so,
it sounds
so
um, sterile and
sterile.
very,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. It does sound so sterile.
Yeah.
Let's think of a better word.
Well, I mean, I look at it from the standpoint of this. I feel like, and for me in my nature, I'm a planner. That is
Yeah,
what I
me
do,
too.
and
Guilty.
so, yeah. And so I want to know, like, are we on track for our goals in the next 5 years, 10 years? Can we
Yeah.
retire? Like, what does retirement look like for you? Like, because if you want to be on a beach every day, we might need
Yeah.
to do some stuff different to make it happen. Like it are upfront sacrifices that we may have to make in order to make that happen. And you don't want to wait until you get there in order to like
Right.
figure out, like you
And
haven't done
it's a struggle when you're the planner and the other person's not, and they
that.
procrastinate and they don't plan a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, I find that a struggle to make sure my partner is on the same page and we're planning. Again, I don't mind 80% of the planning, but the rest of the time, I want somebody else to plan for me because at the end of the day, it gets tiring. So I try to communicate that to my spouse and try to make sure that he understands where I'm coming from. Like, I don't want to plan 80% of the time. I don't want to, I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to be an adult like all the time.
Well, it's so funny. So going back to like, okay, what's the difference between girlfriend and marriage, right? So when I was a girlfriend, I didn't plan dates.
Hello.
What time are you picking me up?
What time? Where are we going?
Okay, where are we going? You had made a reservation. You figured out what movie we were going to. You did all the things. So now that we're married, I got to do all the planning, and
Hmm.
and
What a
and
opposite, huh?
it's opposite. And it's like, okay, but so then it's one sided, or it's the conversation a lot of times in our house is, okay, what do you want for dinner?
Oh yeah,
What do
that
you want
same
for
here.
dinner?
Same here.
And he's like, whatever you pick is fine. And then I would say, well, do you want chicken? He's like, whatever you pick is
Yeah,
fine, because he doesn't want to make a decision. Like nobody wants to make a
I
decision.
know. That's
No,
same here in this household too. So
nobody wants to make a decision. So I do feel like that whole idea of making decisions and having to, figure out like who's going to take responsibility for it, for me, is helpful because I feel like if nobody is taking responsibility for certain things, it's like the ship is flying blind,
right,
right? Like or the plane's flying blind. Like nobody's like who's at the helm of this thing, who's working for it. So I do feel like we have figured out what that evolution looks like, and like I said, after being as married long as we have, we're learning that it's evolving. Kids summer at camp used to just all be on me, like figured out. So I was like, what are your kids doing this summer?
hmm yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
He's well, I don't know. What do you think they should do? Well, I think they should go to this science camp. Okay, so you want to find the science camp? Yeah. Okay, you find the science camp. And then I'm like, I think they should go to swimming. Okay, I'll sign them up for swimming, and then we
hmm
coordinate it together.
right.
Where
But I
it
think that's after
isn't.
years. I think
Oh gosh, yeah,
we've both learned to let go. Like a lot of times, us as women, we want to control things, and we think we can do better than the male counterpart can do,
yeah,
and things will get done because for me, I just do things because I know they'll get done and they'll get done right. And then it's led my husband to be like, oh, I'm not good at those type of things, and you're better at it. And at the end of the day, I think it takes away from them, well, number one, sharing in the experience, and number two, participating to take a little bit of stress off of our shoulders, right? Because
yeah,
we just carry it on and we're just used to it. It's almost like the Encanto uh, cartoon where the sister has all these, houses and bricks on her, and
yes,
sometimes after so many years of marriage, it becomes way too heavy on us. So communicating and figuring out that, because again, I can't move like a girlfriend does, right? Because we don't have responsibility, a household to take care of and added stuff. And I think sometimes men have to be aware that you're a girlfriend here. We can go places. You lived in your place. I lived in my place. And together we have to do all those things, together, the
right,
utilities, the household, the mortgage, the kids. And sometimes it falls on the wife a lot of times. And sometimes it's our fault. Don't get me wrong. It is our fault
yeah,
that we do
because we
that.
take it on.
It's
You
me.
know,
Yeah.
we take it on, and we don't ask for help. But then yet I'm walking around here, why this is he
Yes.
don't do this, and it's not a conversation.
No.
It's anger and it's frustration, and you know, you have to. Um, we say this all the time, like you have our children have two parents, right?
Yep.
And so they are learning by looking at us
Yep.
what parenting looks like, what mothering looks like, what being a good father looks like,
Right.
and what being a good spouse looks like. And so, coming out of the conversations that we have, we also want to make sure, how am I being an example
How am
for
I?
my children? Not just my daughter, for like, this is what, this is what you should do as a wife, but also for my son, because
Yeah.
he's looking at me like, my husband and I talk all the time. He has expectations of me that, like his mom did certain things. I'm like, my name is Monique, and not her mother. Like, you did not marry her. I think when it comes to dating, there are certain things that I do feel like we can date.
Yeah.
We
It's
can.
important. I think it's important. I always tell my husband, date night is important, and reinvesting in your marriage is important, right? So,
Yeah.
like, anniversaries are important. I know people sometimes shut it off or forget about it, but date night anniversaries are important, just like birthdays, right? Because you're celebrating. Not that many people make it 20 years or
No,
14 years or 2 years or whatever. So just
exactly.
taking the time out to celebrate the milestones that you have and you made it through another year together with all these other things going on, which, even what you were saying about how you have all these other people looking at you, right? So being a girlfriend, maybe you were a single parent, or maybe you weren't, or maybe you were just by yourself, but just adding on the kid element about other people looking at you. We looked at our parents and what
Yes.
they did and how they move, and sometimes that mimics how we move in our life and stuff like that. And so we just have to be, like we talked about before, intentional on certain things, and then putting in priority. Right, we have to make
Right.
ourselves priority, because like we talked about before, we can't help anybody if we haven't helped ourselves. Right,
And,
we're so
and
worried about everybody else.
and the frustration and the resentment
Oh,
that comes with not putting yourself first is
yes.
all self-inflicted, right? Because you go like, well, why didn't I? Why am I so angry? Why am I so frustrated? Why am I so tired? You know, because I didn't carve out the thing that I wanted to do for myself. And you have to put your own oxygen mask on
Oh,
first,
that's
right?
good.
And so, my kids are only going to get the best part of me if I'm able to show up as my true, authentic self.
Yep.
And the same is with my spouse. My
Yep.
spouse is only going to, my husband is only going to get the best part of me when I'm not exhausted, when I'm not frustrated, when
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, like thinking about the bills and the other stuff and feeling like it's taken on all of my, like, these are our responsibilities.
Right. Right.
Why does it feel like I'm the only one bearing the burden of it? Well,
Right.
because who put you in the driver's seat, right?
Right.
You. I'm the one put myself in that. So, we sit down and we go over our bills. Why do I know how
Right.
much the
Right.
PG&E bill is and you don't? Why do I know that we've got this extra added expense and go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're spending over
Right.
our
Right.
budget and, groceries. Like, we have a budget. We sit down and go over it because it's important. This is our
Yeah.
family. It's our
Got to go back to
responsibility.
helpmate, right? I
Yes.
married because I need a helpmate, right?
Right.
Because once you get married, your helpmate is supposed to take on a lot of the stuff that we accumulate together, children, home, finances. I need a helpmate, and so
Help
that's
me.
why
Yes.
that's the concept of getting married, right? Because you
Hmm.
could do great all by yourself, right?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Again, we were single, we were doing great all by ourselves. We didn't need to get married or have kids or whatever. It was something that we desired, but when we got together with somebody, I want a helpmate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, can you hear it? Oh my gosh. Okay.
He's real loud, huh?
He's like right outside my front door. The gardener is here.
Of
Of
course,
course,
of
the
course.
gardener's here.
I can still
Um,
hear you.
Okay, as long as you. So I heard something on social media, and I think it was such. I didn't know this, but so if I'm misquoting this, like, don't text me. Um, no, don't come for me. Okay.
Okay, right.
Um, um, hold on.
Yeah, it like I said, I know. Yeah. I think you're still good. I think we can still hear you.
Okay, as long as you can still hear me. I can't hear myself. So, as long as you
Just
can.
gotten a little
Um,
louder, but
anyways, so he's like literally outside my front door. So I heard this, and it talks about how um, Eve was taken from Adam's rib. I don't know if you heard this or whatever, but Eve was taken from Adam's rib. And she wasn't taken from his head because God didn't want her to have reign over him. She wasn't taken from his feet because um, he didn't want, you know, Adam to be able to walk over her and to, dominate over her. But it was taken from the rib. And the key thing about the rib is that the rib is a protector. The rib protects all the vital organs. It helps to, without your ribs, your vital organs won't be able to stand. And so I think it's important that we understand our roles as husband and wife, that we are there to protect each other. And sometimes that means protecting each other from ourselves.
mm,
Sometimes that means protecting each other from ourselves in the standpoint of like, you know, when I'm not taking good care of myself, or when I am exhausted. You can see the exhaustion on my face.
mm-hmm.
Just go sit down, have a glass of wine or whatever, or you need a minute. There's been times where I go into that mommy retreat and my husband was like, tell my kids, do not go bother your mother.
Yep.
Like, leave her, let her have her minute,
Mm,
and then there's times where I'm like, why are these kids keep coming,
right.
to me or whatever. And I think I do the same thing for him, like
Mm-hmm.
let him have his
Yep.
time. So I think we have to retrain as you go from girlfriend to wife. You have to retrain how you look at your relationship
Yeah.
and how you look at yourself. Um, you have these ideas of what marriage, at least I know I did. I had these ideas of what marriage was, what it was going to be. And
Yeah,
as
and I'm sure
far
it doesn't look
as
like anything in that bubble that
no,
we transpire, because you don't know all the nuances to and the complexity of being in a long-term relationship and
right.
staying committed and loving one another. Like I said, again, I'm not the girl, 14 years ago. So through evolution, through time, you have to get to know the new person, my
Yeah.
new beliefs, what I believed back then I might not have believed, back then. And again, we're all a work in progress, and I never married my husband thinking I'm going to change him, you know what I mean? Like, who I dated is who I married, and I didn't expect anything else except for us to grow together and start a family together, and hopefully succeed together. Because again, it's like a dice roll, right? Yeah, you found somebody, but then you still have to keep rolling the dice and see where you land. After
And you
so
have
many
to put in
years.
the work. You
Yeah,
have to put in the work. It's effort.
it's
It's
effort.
it's intentional effort that
Yeah.
you have to put in. It's hard conversations. It's support when you don't have anything to support left to
Mm,
support with. It's recognizing the person is evolving and changing into being something, someone different than maybe what you thought they were going to
mm,
be.
mm, mm.
And so I think it is important for you to do that evolution. When you're single, you were thinking about yourself.
Yep. Yep.
You're thinking about, you know, what you want, what's
Yep.
best for you.
Agree.
Um, and while we would love to say like, oh, it's the same commitment, it isn't the same commitment. You can walk away.
Sorry, single ladies, it ain't the same
It's
commitment.
not the same commitment. But I
And
feel like,
also know what you're getting yourself into. I've always been a believer in like knowing what you getting. If you know your man, you go over his house and he's not clean or whatever, guess what? When you get married, he's not gonna be clean either. So
mhm,
again, just kind of know. Don't I always was a believer in asking questions, me personally, about relationships and why somebody broke up.
yeah,
I always believed in asking those questions, and what I came up with is that what you allow now is what's going to happen years from now.
hmm
So, and then I found people be like, "Oh, he changed. Well, was he doing it before?" Yes. So the person that changed was really you because you were kind of tired of putting up with what you probably should have addressed early on. You know what I mean?
But
And
I
they're
think
not
it's
willing to
okay
change.
to change. I
Yeah.
think it's okay. I don't expect to be what was maybe acceptable to me when we didn't have kids is not acceptable to me
Yeah.
when we have
Yeah.
kids, right? So it you should change, and but that's where the dialogue and the conversation
Yeah. And that's where
comes
the divorces come too, that I found.
in, you know. Um, but well, I don't want to judge, but I hope that people can find the balance, you know, like for me, we've had a lot of, it's been bumpy. It's been hard. Trust me, 23, almost 24 years, you know, we've had all of our, you know, challenges and such, but, I will say, we always say 80-20. You know, does the good outweigh, you
Yep.
know, bad? You're going to have bad stuff, but how do you act? How do you show up? What are some like things that you established, you know, when I was, you know, single that were deal breakers?
Right.
And I
Right.
made it very clear. These are deal breakers for me. And so non-negotiable, right? And likewise with him, he was very adamant about certain things that I did, and he was like, "Yeah, you can't do that. That's not gonna work." Um, and respecting each other in
Right.
all of that process. Like I think just the difference of the amount of respect that you have for each other
Oh, that's good.
grows over time.
Respect is good. Because I always said if I have to start cussing you out and calling you out your name, I've lost respect.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I've always gauged where that respect is. If I got to come home and you MF, you this and that, I think I've lost respect for you, and I think it's about time for this relationship to to end.
Well, and then for me, it's like if I stop talking to you,
Hmm.
that's not a good place for you to be.
Yeah, well,
Because
that goes unsaid. Yeah, because if I stop
yeah,
talking, yeah,
if I stop, if I and when I say stop talking, meaning not meaning like, oh, what are we eating for dinner and all this.
argue
Like,
and have a day or two. Yeah, no.
yeah, I mean, like if I stop being interested in you, if
Mm,
I stop being inquisitive about how you're doing, your well being, and all that, if I stop having those discussions, like it's not a good place for us to
it's
be.
not a good place.
You
Yeah.
know, so I think as time goes on, you know, look at um, you look at the evolution of yourself and how you are showing up in
Mm,
your marriage in the
that's
best
good.
way, and are you showing up in the best way for each other, because you need different things at different times of your life, you know. So I don't know, do you have any parting words for our listeners today?
Yeah. Um, think about what you want in the long run when you're single. Look at your mate and think if you can last a long time. I think communication is a big deal. Again, 14 years, I realize sometimes the communication isn't where it should be, or there was things that should have been said that weren't said. So if you are considered marrying and single, keep that in mind when you're getting married. And again, like my dad told me when I got married, like nothing is 50-50, and if the good outweigh the bad, you are doing great. So those would be my parting words on that issue. What about you?
I think I just have a few. When I got married on September 1st. And my mother said to me, if you don't like who your husband is on August 31st, don't
Mm,
marry that man.
mm.
Don't marry him,
Go, mom.
because you, he is who he is.
Who he is,
And
who he is.
so don't marry him thinking that you're going to change him, you know? So that's one thing that I would say if you're considering, you know, marriage. I think the other thing is that you have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to shed who you may have thought you would be in your
Mm,
marriage
yep,
and who you will eventually turn into. I think that as long as you, as a couple, figure out what's important to you, and it's going to change,
it's
it's
gonna
going to
change.
evolve, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be at different stages of your marriage. As long as you guys figure out your commitment to each other and that you're willing to continue to work towards it, um, then I think you're fine. You know, but be willing to change. You are
Yes.
not who you were younger at your younger stage of marriage. I am definitely not who I was when I was married 5 years, 10 years, heck, even 20 years ago. You know, um, so you evolve and you change. So you have to be willing to do that, and then you got to listen to each other. I
Yes.
think that's the whether you are single or married. Listen,
Yes.
listen, and watch because
Watch.
it's
Good.
people will tell you a whole lot of things,
Yep.
but what they will show you, believe in what
Watch
they,
what they do. Watch what they do. I think that's a good
because
one.
what they will show you is truly who they are. Their character can't miss that. So
That's right.
when you see you're walking down the street and and you see a homeless person, if that person reacts a certain way or whatever, you're like, okay, that bothers me. Or you see how they talk to their parents or to their friends, their nieces or nephews or something. They're going to show up that way
Right.
in your relationship. So be mindful. And then I will say
That's a great one.
this is my last one. Be true to you.
Mm.
Be true to you. Um, Now I know that sounds like, well, pick you first, and if they're not doing what you want them to do, then you should go leave. And I'm not necessarily saying that it isn't the right thing for everyone. But I also would say be true to you. Like, are you really showing up the best way you can in your
Right.
marriage? Are you really showing up for you the
So
best way you
self-reflect
can?
periodically, right?
Yeah, like, are you, like I was saying, you know, if I want to go on a girls' trip, my husband has never told me no. Never.
Either.
So I'm not going on a girls' trip, not because he say I can't, because I haven't taken the initiative to do it for myself,
Hmm.
right? Now he gone, he gonna do his thing, you know. But so I say that, like, when I say, choose you, like, figure out what's working for you and then go about doing that in the context of your marriage.
Right.
Right? So you have to be able to show up as your true authentic self in your marriage, and that is going to evolve and change. And so if you're doing that and your marriage is no longer, you know, fulfilling its purpose, then maybe it's a conversation that
Mm.
you need to have as to whether or not that's the right thing for you. But if you're not really showing up as yourself, if you're putting on a mask and you are
Mm.
not who you really being, like, you just trying to be the good wife and you trying to be the good mom and you're trying to be the good all of that, but that's really not who you are, then you need to show up. Take that mask off, show up as yourself, show up as who you really
Yep.
are, because they can only love that person.
Yep.
And at some point in time, it's going to get exhausted. You're going to get exhausted, and you're going to show up as who you are anyway. And then you're going to be looking at them like, well, what's wrong with you? You
Right.
just got here.
Ask for help, ladies. Ask for help when you can. 'Cause
Yes.
it's okay. And it's okay to take time out for yourself. Our men are going to do it again. Hence all these men caves. I was like, where's the women caves at? We all need it.
Mhm.
So find your woman cave, wherever it
Find
is,
one.
whether
Your
it's at
mommy retreat. That's what I
a mommy
call mine.
retreat, whether it's at a spa, getting your nails done,
Yes.
taking a walk. Find your mommy retreat and get some self-care for yourself.
That's
So,
right. That's right. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this episode. Stay
yes.
blessed,
Yeah.
and we'll see you on the next one.
Be blessed.
Okay.
Bye.
Get it, shout it, get it, shout it. Are you ready to talk?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to talk.
Come on in,
Well, okay, let's talk.
just settle down. We wanna talk with you. Gonna talk with you now. What's going around?
Let's talk.
Down. Brown skin, chit chat, show skin, chit
Let's talk.
show.
Get it, shout it. Get it, shout it.